everybody, what's up, man? It's Hold the Truth Hostage, where if the truth was so important, we wouldn't negotiate with lies. We wouldn't negotiate with lies. Now, I got a request for a video topic, and, respect to the homie, I'm going to have his name on the screen. Now, he's asking a major question, basically. What will entertainment be like for heterosexual men? This is a very important question and a great topic. I've been asking people, feel free, man. Feel free to leave some comments. I've been asking this since 2020, man. If you got an idea for a video, feel free to leave a comment. And, I got a list of videos I've done for people when they ask. But you gotta understand, man. I think it started in the 2000s, but there's a huge attack on heterosexual men when it comes to entertainment. There's a huge attack of misrepresentation of heterosexual men's, what they seek to watch and what they want to watch. And a part of me thinks, it started with Twilight. A part of me thinks it started with Twilight, because Twilight to me predicted what's going to happen in the future, man. Twilight is a huge movie when it comes to what's the fate of heterosexual men when it comes in the eye of entertainment. And the reason I bring that up is that if you watch Twilight, Twilight was one of the first hugely successful movies where they weren't using the girl next door, like an attractive girl next door thing. They weren't going for that. They were going for the average to below average girl. So basically, they were one of the first films where they put in, they put it in the forefront that, it's an average to below average girl that's being seeked out by two very handsome men and so on. You know what I'm saying? And at first when I looked at Twilight, when I used to see the ads, I never watched the movies, whatever, but when I would see the ads and stuff, I was like, okay, so they're doing this movie to make some money by, raising the self-esteem of the average woman or below average woman. Because the lead role for the movie was a, very below average girl, and they had two men fighting for her. Of course, one guy was a vampire, and, the vampire had, and this is where the sequence comes in of very questionable choices, that he was a vampire and he had sparkles and rainbows. He would have glitter on his body. You know what I'm saying? That was one of the running jokes, that, as a vampire, you would see him with glitter on his body, and he was, seeking out this woman. Then you have on the other side, you got a dude who's like a werewolf or something seeking her out too. So you got two handsome men, whatever, as they would call it, seeking out a very below average girl, And when you watch that, and I'd say watch a trailer for Twilight when you get the chance. And when I would see the trailer, part of me would think, okay, so they're using this to build the self-esteem of the average girl. Because, we've had a lot of movies from the male perspective where it's a very average to below average guy who gets a very beautiful and attractive woman. So, Hollywood went full foot in on Twilight with the below average girl getting the attention of, very handsome men, whatever. But if you watch it with a critical thinking skill, a black pill perspective, you will realize that this movie was literally a sign for what would come. And what I mean by that is, look, if you look at it through this lens, and trust me, when you listen to this perspective, I talked with somebody last night online about this. But if you look at it, they casted a very below average woman. So the men that would perceive to be watching this movie, I mean, nobody was interested in that chick that was in Twilight. She was subpar, below average. But they casted the men very handsome and, model-less. They cast the guys looking like models and all that. And the reason for this is that Twilight was a movie where, of course, it's a romantic comedy. You know what I'm saying? Romance is usually for the women, whatever, romantic movie. But the way they casted the men, it was actually to appeal to non-heterosexual men. So Twilight was really designed for men that aren't straight. You know what I'm saying? It would basically advertise for gay men to watch it, because you got a vampire who sparkles with glitter, and then you got a dude who's a werewolf running around half naked or whatever. So Twilight was the beginning of this casting where they would cast the women below average. So the men wouldn't have any women to sexually fantasize about, but they would cast the men very handsome to attractive, whatever. So it would appeal to the women. It wouldn't lower the self-esteem of women that are below average, because the lead role of the woman was below average to average. But they would cast the men to where they're looking for male models and so on, that would be in pursuit of an average to below average woman. So it didn't affect the self-esteem of most women that are average to below average, but they had the sex appeal pointed towards the men that would be attractive to women and attractive to basically gay men. You know what I'm saying? And the reason I bring this up is that look at the Marvel movies. Look at the current Marvel movies, and look at a lot of superhero movies in general. For example, when you look at Iron Man, you know what I'm saying? Iron Man, they cast Robert Downey Jr. You know what I'm saying? He used to be, he was a heartthrob for the 80s. You know what I'm saying? He's a handsome model guy, whatever. You know what I'm saying? He was a sex, I forget the word, what they call that. Yeah, sex appeal, or, sex appeal guy. And then they cast Gwyneth Paltrow, who's, let's be real, man. She average, built like a swan. You know what I mean? Built like a swan, tall neck. She was very average, so they casted, and they got Robert Downey Jr. to look like he's in shape, dieseled out, worked out to be a superhero. It's using the same Twilight format. When they cast the men have to look very close to the character. So, superhero, he's got to be buff, he's got to be in shape as a man, he's got to have all his sex appeal and super masculinity. Then they cast the women looking very average. You know what I'm saying? So they removed the fantasy of what men would watch an action film for. A lot of us, men will watch an action film, expect a strong dude. You want to be like him. You want to be like strong and tough like him. And then you want him to go after like a super beautiful woman that you could only imagine that, you'd fight for. Because, that's the fantasy of Hollywood. Hollywood is all about casting men and women that, are just model-esque, that look like they were sculpted to be attractive and all that stuff. But what you look at in Marvel, to me, Marvel is what took the reins and pushed it. Because, you look at the first Iron Man, they cast Gwyneth Paltrow, I think, is his love interest. Then they cast Robert Downey Jr., he decked out, dieseled out, in shape. Then later on, they would cast Scarlett Johansson for sex appeal. Because, to me, it was still late 2000s to early 2010s. So they casted, if you watch the first Iron Man 2, you'll see that Scarlett Johansson kept posing, kept doing sexually charged poses, looking sexy and all that stuff. Then later on, when you watch the films, like later on as the Marvel, universe would go on, you would see that they started casting super average to below average women. You know what I'm saying? If you look at the female cast of most Marvel films, I mean, if you look at Scarlet Witch, no offense to the actress, she can act or whatever, but dude, that ain't how Scarlet Witch looks. Scarlet Witch does not look that average. Like, if you watch the comics, comic books, they would draw the characters very hyper modelish, model, super attractive, the definition of masculinity and femininity, body's just perfect, But if you watch the current movies, even if you watch the Man of Steel, Man of Steel, I remember watching it. I was like, man, they casted Superman. Henry Cavill worked his ass out, got dieseled, got ripped, man. It's very inspiring if you want to go to the gym. You're like, shit, I want to be like Henry Cavill. I want to be like Superman. I want to be in shape, strong. Then you look at who they casted as Lois, and Lois is, let's be real, man. Lois looked like a librarian, super average looking chick, you know what I'm saying? And, they changed her hair from black to red, you know what I'm saying? You could see the disrespect for the continuity of the series. So, and if you look at it, they're following the same casting route. Now, if you watch all the Marvel films, the women are casted very subpar, average to below average women, because the goal of Hollywood, I'd say since the early 2000s till now, is to basically have the movies not appeal to straight men. You know what I'm saying? Not appeal to straight men, because what they do, there's a balance when you watch movies. They'll cast a guy who's very handsome and shape, you know what I'm saying, to inspire other men. You're like, shit, man. You can compare yourself to that man and see what you could be like him. They'll put sex idols, you know what I'm saying, males that are strong in shape, and you'll be like, shit, man, I want to be just like these guys. And then on the other end, they'll cast a very beautiful, very attractive woman, and you'll be like, damn, I want that woman. You know what I'm saying? So you want to be like the lead actor, and you want the woman in the movie. You know what I'm saying? That was how they would cast films. But now, if you look at the majority of movies, especially, and I like to bring up the superhero route, because when it comes to superhero films, they cast the male characters extremely close to the comic books. He's got to be in shape like the male superhero, in great shape, great physique. Then when they cast the female characters, and you're like, don't look nothing like the comics. I mean, even if you watch, and like I said, this started with Twilight, and it's been highlighted since, probably even before. I'd say this started in the early 2000s. Even if you look at the X-Men films, I mean, if you look at who they casted as Jean Grey, no offense to the actress, she could act, but she wasn't Jean Grey, bro. She didn't look like Jean Grey. She wasn't, top shelf supermodel built, just drop dead gorgeous like they would illustrate Jean Grey. So what you've seen in Hollywood is that Hollywood will cater towards sex appeal of, gay men, and sex appeal towards average women. Because what they would do is they cast average women to not offend the below average woman, to average woman, and then they cast the men looking handsome and model-esque to appeal to the women. So when you look at the movies appeal to women, because when the women go watch it, they have a man they can fantasize about, and they don't feel threatened about the female casted in that role. You know what I'm saying? And then you have, and now on the other end, on the other spectrum, when you look at the sex appeal for the men coming in, it's really pushed towards, the gay man. because, you know, you have an attractive male character, you know, handsome, whatever, but, you know, because you don't have the payoff of a very attractive woman for the heterosexual man to look into, it really becomes, hey man, come watch this attractive guy fight for this below average woman that we all know in real life, this, you know, majority of the case would not be the case. You know, it becomes unbelievable. You know, it becomes unbelievable that, you know, you watch the Man of Steel, you're like, dude, this is Lois? Come on, bro. This ain't Lois. This ain't what Superman will be fighting for. This ain't the super attractive woman. And you even like watch the other X-Men, you're like, damn, Wolverine is in a love triangle for this. This ain't Jean Grey, bro. This is not Jean Grey. You know, she don't look nothing like Jean Grey. And, you know, the original X-Men, man, they casted the homie, they casted Scott, perfect Scott. You know, perfect Wolverine, of course. We all know that, you know what I mean? But if you look at the male cast, they always try to cast the men correctly. But when it comes to the female cast, they, you know what I'm saying, they don't go full force. You know what I mean? X-Men, you know, the whole series, you know, I mean, X-Men, the original, Halle Berry was casted perfectly. She looked great, all that stuff. I don't agree with the whole perm on her hair. They could have done it more natural. You know, that's for another video. But another thing you got to understand is, and why I'd say the heterosexual male, when it comes to making content for straight men, it's Hollywood is basically, it's done. It's been destroyed. It's because Hollywood has figured out a loophole, a big loophole. The loophole is that, and I've started this with my own products. I call it, what I'm doing is, and I'll have it posted hopefully on this video, is I call it full transparency. What happens in movies right now is that they're abusing the fact that when it comes to the rating system only asks the age the content appeals to, you know, PG-13, you know, mild violence, you know what I'm saying, mild language, you know what I'm saying, rated R would be blood and all that. But notice in the rating system does not include the sexuality featured in the film. So a lot of these Hollywood, you know, activists and, you know, to me, I'm just calling it Weirdy Wood, you know what I'm saying, or Wokey Wood, whatever you want to call it. What Hollywood's doing and abusing, if you see most movies now, it used to be in the 90s, you know, let's say about the 90s and further back, that you would know based on the advertisement, the sexuality featured on the movie. You would just go in, oh man, yeah, you know this is a heterosexual movie by just the advertisement. But what's happened now, and I think it started in the 2010s, most likely, or early 2000s, because they started pushing the whole metrosexual agenda. You know, like remember the movie, and I watched it, it was called Bromance. You know what I'm saying? They called it Bromance, and, you know, in the initiative of the 2000, what is it, the metrosexual male, about men that, you know, clean their nails and basically clean men that are very highly focused on their hygiene. Instead of calling it hygiene, you know, hygienically, you know, hygienic bros, you know what I'm saying, hygienic bros, hygienic guys, you know, highly hygienic guys or whatever, they called the guys metrosexual. They wanted to blur the line. Oh, because the guy's hygienic, likes to clean his nails, likes to clean his face and, you know, go to the spa and all that stuff, he's a metrosexual. So they started to emasculate men for just being hygienic, being very clean. You know, that if you watch, there's a South Park episode, you know, South Park usually points out a lot of things, you know. So you see a rise, and remember, the early 2000s was when you had the queer eye for the straight guy, you know what I'm saying, where some gay dudes will come to somebody's house and some guy's house and tell him, yeah, he's not dressed right. You know what I'm saying? He's not dressed clean and all that stuff. Early 2000s. So 2000s was when they pushed that if you're a highly hygienic guy, you're metrosexual. So they try to emasculate and feminize men from feminize men by saying, oh, if you're clean, you're metrosexual. You know what I'm saying? And then they would carry this on. So you see bromance. I watched the movie Bromance, which they didn't have to call it bromance, whatever. But the movie was suggesting something that would actually be the prime narrative of the 2010s and today, is that any man that spends a lot of time with other men, like you got your bros, your friends, or whatever, the narrative became that you're in a romantic relationship, aka a bromance. If you see a lot of content today, there's a lot of content where some women are basically attacking a man's sexuality by saying, yeah, he only spends times with his friends, his boys. He must be in the closet. You know what I'm saying? He must be gay or something because he spends time with his male friends. That's the only reason a man, when a man's not surrounded by women or not spending time with women, then you have to question his sexuality versus, that's his boys, that's his bros. They, the homies hang together, the homies drink, homies talk about life and all that stuff. So that became a major push. That became a large, major push. The suggestion that if a man spends time with other men, chilling, drinking, then that man's sexuality has to be questioned. You know what I mean? Because, why is he spending time with his boys, going out to bars, drinking, chilling, whatever? His sexuality must be questioned. You know what I mean? So that became a very big push. And what's going on in Hollywood is that Hollywood, in all honesty, I'll be honest with you, like, you can't really, the way I look at things now, you can't really trust anything. As a heterosexual male, you can't really go into films or go watch anything because, without assuming they're going to try to compromise your heterosexuality. Because they used to just advertise a movie and you could be like, oh yeah, that's a straight movie. That's a movie for straight people. Because here's the thing, man. The thing is this, a heterosexual movie has far more appeal than a non-heterosexual movie because the people go in watching it differently. Let's say you're a straight guy. You're straight, you go watch a movie. You go watch the movie to basically, see a man you could potentially admire and want to be like, and the women he would actually get or interact with. That's what a heterosexual male, when he goes to the theater. Now, a heterosexual woman goes to see the woman she wants to be like or look like or wish she looked like and how attractive she could be. She wished she was like that. And then the quote-unquote handsome man she wants to be with and wish she could have or fantasize about. And then now you get, let's say, a lesbian woman. The lesbian woman will go to a heterosexual movie and, she looks at the woman from a different perspective. She looks at the woman as the woman she wants, potentially in a relationship with, or a woman she wants to be like to attract other lesbians or whatever. Then you get a gay man going to a heterosexual movie. He's looking at the lead male character as the man he wants to be in a relationship with, or the man he wants to be like to appeal to other gay men. You know what I'm saying? So a heterosexual movie basically appeals to all the sexualities. You know what I'm saying? But when you make a movie, for example, I'd say you make a lesbian movie, straight guys don't really, it's not going to affect you as a straight guy, a heterosexual guy. You don't really care. Okay, so it's lesbians, women kissing each other, touching each other. For a straight guy, I mean, hey man, that's a fantasy. You know, why one woman when you could have two of them? You know what I'm saying? It still appeals, like a lesbian movie still appeals to straight men, as long as they're not doing the butch, the wannabe man, woman lesbian movies they be making. You know what I'm saying? The wannabe a man lesbian movies. So, you know, so when you watch a lesbian movie, the lesbian movie will appeal to straight men, and it will appeal to lesbians. Now, you know, there's a chance it won't appeal as much to heterosexual women, you know, because a heterosexual woman is looking for a man that has sexual appeal to her, that she could eventually get in a relationship with or wants to be in a relationship with. And it won't appeal to gay men because, you know, it's a lesbian movie. It's just a bunch of women kissing and touching each other. So, you know, it won't appeal to a gay man. So when you make a lesbian film, you know, you appeal to straight men and you appeal to lesbian women. But, you know, then if you make like they did with that movie Bros, you know what I'm saying? And notice, one thing you got to notice about a lot of the LGBTQ movies is that they use a lot of generic terms that do not point out that, you know, they're LGBTQ. Because, you know, if you were walking by the theater and you saw a movie title called Bros, you'd be like, oh, it's gonna be about some bros that are drinking beer, doing whatever, you know, chasing women down, dating them, banging them, whatever. But no, it's a generic term to basically bait straight men and heterosexual people to go watch it. Because the Bros movie, they should have put something else on it to let people know, yeah, dude, this isn't a straight or a heterosexual movie. You know what I'm saying? But when you do a gay movie, what happens is it appeals to, of course, gay men, and then it appeals to somewhat heterosexual women. You know, a heterosexual woman could watch a gay male movie because, you know, she'll pretend she looks at it differently. She's probably going to look at these guys from a perspective of the man she wants, or basically a male, you know, a gay male friend, you know what I'm saying, that basically worships her femininity and could be a friend or something. So you see, it divides people. When a non-heterosexual movie has a lot of division, but a full heterosexual movie basically attracts people from all spectrums because they get to look at it from a different perspective. And, you know, what's going to happen with Hollywood, and, you know, you could even look up Disney, man. And I'm going to share some photos, I think, hopefully on this video. Disney has basically, there's a movie with Gonzo dressed up as a princess. And we all know Gonzo's a male character from, damn, I forget where Gonzo's from. It ain't Sesame Street. I forget the name of that show with, you know, Kermit the Frog and them. The Muppets, yeah. So they got Gonzo from the Muppets wearing a dress. They even got in the trailer the new Groot show. The new Groot show coming out where they got Groot wearing a dress. So, you know, a lot of shows right now are abusing the fact that they do not have to include the sexuality featured on the show. You know what I'm saying? And I'd say with a lot of heterosexual men now, and Hollywood's gonna keep losing money. You know, keep losing a lot of money, man. I mean, there was a movie you got to watch, a trailer you need to watch to show you how divisive Hollywood is you got to look at a trailer for Marvel's The Eternals. The Eternals was advertised as a very straight movie, you know, very heterosexual. There was probably one little snippet here and there. But if you go watch The Eternals, there's a whole scene with a gay relationship between two men kissing and all that. That's what I've read on the reviews and all that stuff. Dude, straight men don't want to watch non-heterosexual content because it compromises their sexuality. There's no such thing as negotiating, you know what I'm saying? Come watch this movie. You're a straight man. You're not going to watch a gay movie. You know, and this is a major push they're pushing with Hollywood, is they're trying to compromise heterosexual male sexuality. by saying, oh, you're a phobe because you don't want to watch a gay movie, whatever, when you're like, dude, I'm straight. This does not appeal or align to my sexuality. If it doesn't appeal to my sexuality, I'm not going to watch it. This is the thing about your sexuality, is that your sexuality is basically determines, it determines what you will be interested in and won't be interested in. You won't compromise. If you're a straight guy, you're not going to watch content that's gay. You know what I'm saying? That's what being straight is about. But in today's age, where they're basically trying to, Hollywood's goal, and I've invented this word. I call it PTS, part-time straight. Let me repeat that, PTS, part-time straight. What Hollywood is trying to do is basically trying to make a lot of men lose their FTS status. Let me repeat that, FTS. FTS is basically full-time straight. Hollywood doesn't want men to be full-time straight. They want you to be part-time. You know what I'm saying? Part-time straight, so they can actually have you compromise your sexuality so they can sell you content. You know what I'm saying? And what they've done, and is you got to also look at the system. The system in the last 40 years is basically demolished the credibility or authority that straight men had. So they've demolished that. You know what I'm saying? They've destroyed that and removed, father figures from movies. I mean, the majority of TV shows you watch, the woman is running the household. The man is subservient, feminized. The men don't give orders anymore. You know what I'm saying? The protector of the household, because they've removed men from being able to protect anything. Men are now just able to provide. I mean, you can't protect your family because, you get married now. Well, what happens? You have everything to lose. It's a high risk thing. You got things to lose. You don't have things to gain. You know what I mean? There's a lot of risk involved. So in the pop culture today, again, I didn't say this, but this is a pop the culture video, where we pop the culture to understand what's really going on, whatever. But basically, man, we don't really live in a society now where, the straight man really has any, I'd say any public or pop cultural, respect. You know what I mean? What is it? Some chick came out with a TV show where she said it's going to be a traditional family, aka a heterosexual family. And all you get is, Hollywood and all these news stations reporting, oh, this is abusive. This is negative. This is disrespectful. When, the default relationship is a heterosexual relationship. And the funny thing about when you see this anti-heterosexual movement and such, dude, to create a gay person or a lesbian or an LGBT, whatever, to create them, they all come from straight people, come from a heterosexual relationship. You know what I'm saying? They have a child. If, man plus woman equals more men and women. You know what I'm saying? Gay man plus gay man equals no more men and women. Lesbian plus lesbian equals no more women and men. You know what I'm saying? There's no reproduction there. So, when you see this, and another thing you gotta understand, we're in the age of technology where it sounds loud. Like Elon Musk, shout out to Elon Musk, man. Elon Musk bought Twitter. And, Twitter used to have all these ideologues, woke ass people, that owned it and ran it. So they understood that, if we type and put on trending, this is offending people, it represents the majority of people. When in reality, it doesn't. The problem with the internet is that the internet makes things sound like there's more people supporting a narrative than there actually is. You know what I'm saying? Because you get enough people to type something post a comment. It makes it look like there's a lot of people supporting that narrative and that way of thinking, when in reality, there ain't that many people. I mean, if you do the studies, less than, what is the LGBTQ community? Less than 1% of the United States? So all these images and comments by these blog sites, these newspapers, you got the fucking New Yorker, all this BS. They've realized that if we sound loud enough and we put enough comments and promote it, that it sounds like it's speaking from the perspective of the majority, because, we have far louder voices from that spectrum than in the straight spectrum. Because, straight people, man, if you're a heterosexual people, you just go about your day, man. You don't really, you go about your day. This is the default state of being a person. So you just go about your day. You don't really care. I mean, why would I care about a woman saying, she's making a traditional family TV show about a straight couple, having a family, when I might not even watch it? And the other thing is, this is default. This is the default standing of men and women. So it's nothing new. And with today's narrative of what's considered traditional, who's going to believe, what she's talking about? It's going to be about a straight couple. Odds are, if she's talking about a traditional family, the TV show's going to center around a man and a woman, where the woman gives the man a lot of orders, tells him what to do. He's bitch made, he's soft. He asks her for decisions. Honey, I want to send our son to boot camp. Well, I don't agree with that. That's the traditional relationship, is that they put on television is a man asking his wife what he should and what he can and can't do, versus, baby, I'm sending our son to boot camp. You know what I'm saying? He's the father. He's the protector of the household. If anything happens, he's the first line of defense. So, he gives the orders. He's the strongest, he's the most dependable. He's the most stable, less emotional. You know what I'm saying? So his perspective's different. But in today's tradition, the traditional thing today is just garbage. We all expect what it is. So, a lot of heterosexual people just walk around going about their day. They don't really care about much. They go living their lives and doing whatever they're doing. You know what I mean? You don't really care. And they've and the thing is this, you gotta understand, a lot of, we've all had gay co-workers and all that. And, you worked around gay people, you realize the majority of the gay people you've worked with, they're not what you see on the internet, this hyper-triggered narrative of, oh my God, how could you say that? You know what I'm saying? It's not like that. You know what I mean? They just go about their business and living their lives. But what's happened is, and this is why I say, if you look at it, you know what I'm saying? What a lot of these multimedia industries are basically utilizing is it's something that, when you look at, for example, you bring up Hitler. You bring up Hitler and you look at what he did, the atrocities, the crime, and the violence towards the J people. You know what I'm saying? The J people, what he did to them. Because, you can't even say the J word in a light of explaining things. They'll basically strike you. But what happened when Hitler attacked the J people, Hitler used the military. Hitler used the military to enforce, hey, the J people are stealing money, they're doing this, they're doing that. And what happened is Hitler, it was an act of crime and violence. You know what I'm saying? Trying to do what he did. But what's happened is the people manipulating the culture right now, what they've used is they're now using the public to police each other. You know what I'm saying? So they have the public, for example, if the government tells you, hey, you can't speak like this, it's against your your freedom of speech. Hey man, some governor comes, you can't talk like this. They're gonna be like, hey man, that's my freedom of speech. I could say whatever I want to say. Shut up, Mr. Governor. That's my First Amendment right as an American. You know what I mean? But when you have the public policing each other, that's what you have now. It's the ultimate tactic. They use the face of people to enact limitations on your freedoms and your rights to talk and say things. So they use people as a way to filter you. You know what I'm saying? It's basically the same tactic Hitler was doing. Hitler, I think he had the newspapers push out a lot of propaganda on the J people saying, they robbed people, they stole money. And, Hitler had this whole agenda pushed out. The military, he was using the media, the military. But what the public is using, what today's propaganda and government is using is that they give the power to the people. They falsify power to the people. So you'll go on Twitter, you'll see the New Yorker type, well, this offends me because of what I identify as. When in reality, that person is limiting your rights to how you think and your freedom of speech. But because this limitation is pushed through a person rather than an authority figure, they call it what do they call that shit? PC, politically correct. You see, the politically correct thing is when they arm, and I've been saying this for over 2 years. What they've done is they've armed the people and they push this narrative of limitation of your rights. They use the people to limit what you can and can't say. So they use the people to police you. That's why you see a lot of things where they say, hey man, he's innocent in the court of law, but he's guilty in the court of public opinion. So what they've done is they've now used the court of public opinion to limit your freedoms, limit how you talk. You got all these people calling you phobic or this phobic and that phobic. Oh, you're straight and you don't want to watch, you're a heterosexual male and you don't want to watch LGBTQ movie. You're phobic, dude. Yeah. Well, what about it? What about you being phobic and you're heterosexual and you don't have interest in anything that compromises your sexuality? You know what I'm saying? You don't have interest in that. Oh, that's negative. That's a negative aspect of you being phobic. When in reality, gay people have their own bars. It's, gay people have their own bars. And here's the thing about, the gay community, the LGBTQ community. They've had their own, film studios, their own TV stations. They've had it all. But what happened is that Hollywood started getting greedy. Hollywood got greedy because if you watch a lot of advertisement from Disney, this is the first ever gay coupling in a movie. And if you know the history of things, no, it ain't. It is not. It is not the first gay coupling or, lesbian scene ever. Dude, the gay people and LGBTQ community had their own movie production, their own film producing stuff. They've had all that. This is just the first, like you see Disney and them claiming all this crap. This is the first time Disney did it. You Warner Brothers did it. This is your first time you doing it. That doesn't mean this is the first time it's ever happened because, you've had gay film studios and, LGBTQ, whatever, film production. You've had these for over 40 years. They've had their own stations. They've had their own TV networks. They understand, man, that, when heterosexual people, they're hetero, which means that's their identity. That's their sexuality, is being heterosexual. You know what I'm saying? That's what they're gonna watch. That's what they're comfortable with because that's their sexuality. What you have now, like I said, because Hollywood doesn't have to, with the rating system, they don't have to share the sexuality featured on the film. Anything you go watch, you got to go watch at your own risk as a heterosexual person. You know what I'm saying? What is it? One of the dumbest moments you see where they push this agenda was, I think, Avengers Endgame. You're watching Avengers Endgame and these people are sitting down. They're sitting down because, half of the world has been wiped out. And then you have this, you have Kevin Feige, the lead director, just insert, it's hard to be gay during this moment. And you're like, what the fuck, man? That half of the people have been wiped out. Instead of showcasing a scene where, you know what I'm saying, you have like a gay guy, whatever, I guess, holding the hands of his partner and saying, oh my God, we lost our family, we lost our children, you know what I'm saying? We lost everything, Instead of having that gay character talk from that perspective of loss, it becomes, I identify as gay and it's hard being gay during the half of the people being wiped out. Because here's the thing about Hollywood. A lot of Hollywood, the mainstream, Disney and all them, they don't really give a damn about this LGBTQ community, because if they did, they wouldn't make every scene they put about their sexuality. When you see a lot of these Disney films and all this crap being pushed by Hollywood, they basically say, you know that lesbian, she's a lesbian. That's all she can be, is a lesbian. No emotion, nothing. They're lesbians. You know what I'm saying? That's why if you watch that Endgame scene, you're like, because the way they used to do it in Hollywood when it came to a straight movie, you know what I'm saying? A straight movie, how they would insert like a gay character would be, okay, you got two male characters holding hands too long, whatever. They're not doing anything, sexually, holding hands too long or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It would be us, I forget the word. It ain't subliminal. It might be subliminal or very limited perspective of that sexuality featured on a straight movie, whatever. And, lesbians, a lot of guys here understand. I've been saying this for years. To me, a lesbian, I personally, I don't believe in the whole lesbian thing, because if you watch the whole lesbian thing, they're using dildos and, artificial male body parts to get sexually, sexually aroused, whatever. So, when you have lesbian scenes in a heterosexual movie, men don't care. Okay, two women kissing, who gives a damn? Whatever, cool. You're straight, you're going, oh, that's dope. If only I could be in the middle of those two women kissing. It still appeals to your heterosexuality. You know what I'm saying? But you got Marvel doing, they just, half of the people been wiped out. And this, because what they do, a lot of Hollywood, what they do is they dehumanize, gay people, lesbians, LGBTQ, whatever. They dehumanize them by just saying, look, even though this gay man lost his whole family, half of his family and friends, the hardest thing for him is being gay right now. That's the hardest thing for just being a gay person, when he lost half of his friends, half of his co-workers, the world, half of the people been wiped out. Because when you watch all these mainstream movies, their whole, when it comes to identity politics, is when it comes to LGBTQ people, whatever, they basically place them in a situation where that's all they are. They're LGBT, It could be during a scene of a shootout. That gay person isn't scared, because the hardest thing for that gay person right now during a shootout is being gay. It's not about surviving or trying to live this shootout scene or nothing like that. No, it's the hardest thing for them right now is he's a gay person. You know what I'm saying? That's how they write him. Now, for heterosexual people, as far as content is considered, is that Hollywood has, until Hollywood starts having what I call, and I'm doing it, like I said, full transparency. What do I mean by full transparency? It's where the rating shows you got full transparency. So, you put sexuality featured, heterosexuality featured. You know what I'm saying? So you go watch a movie, you see heterosexuality featured. You put non-political, You know what I'm saying? So there won't be no politics leaning left or right, all that BS. And then you put the age, rated PG-13, rated R. Until films start being full transparent with what they're featuring on the movie, as a straight person or a heterosexual person, you have to assume the worst, and that's what Hollywood is doing. And what Hollywood doesn't get with these streaming services, you got Netflix, you got, HBO Max, you got NBC Plus, the Peacock, you got all this shit, you know what I'm saying? I used to think, like for example, Seinfeld, when Seinfeld was on Netflix, I used to think like, yo, these are old ass shows, man. Who cares about them? Who cares about these old shows and stuff like that? And then it started making sense. This is something Hollywood doesn't understand. What Hollywood doesn't understand is that with the streaming services, people have a lot of old content to watch. And like never before, they could binge watch them. Like, in the 90s, if you were going to watch Seinfeld, you got to buy the whole DVD package. You were locked to your house. The DVD might break or the VHS might break, whatever. But now you could watch all the old shows on your phone, which means you don't have to watch the new things. What I realized, and I binge watched recently, the entire, it was probably last year, I binge watched all of Scrubs. I binge watched all of, Psych. That's one of my shows, man, Psych. And then what I realized is, man, why are the old shows so important? The reason the old shows are so important is that there's certainty. Like, if you watch Seinfeld, you're going to laugh. You know what to expect. You know what the sexuality will be featured. You know everything that'll be involved in the older television shows. You could look it up. There's certainty right there. You know what I'm saying? And what Hollywood doesn't get with all these, streaming services is that all your older content, if you're straight right now, all your older content is more certain and more safe for people based on their sexuality. You know what I'm saying? I go watch Steve Urkel, I know what's involved. You know what I'm saying? I go watch The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I know what to expect. The expectations can't be subverted. They can't be subverted in the older content. You won't see the advertisement of a show from the 90s like, oh man, it's, I'll use an example, you see Friends, bang, you should have told me that life would be this way, clap, clap, clap. You look up the trailer for Friends, you're like, oh shit, I know what Friends is about. It's about a group of friends, heterosexual friends living together and getting in relationships. So, there's safety there. It's not going to be, clickbait where they advertise Friends as though it's a heterosexual show. And then you go in there and it's not heterosexual. You know what I'm saying? It's promoting gay, it's promoting LGBTQ, and they baited you. They baited you with the content being advertised for straight people. You know what I'm saying? So you can binge watch Living Single. You could binge watch, one show, that show's classic, man. The Steve Harvey Show, if Bullet Head, you know what I'm saying? You know that. That's a classic. The Steve Harvey Show, the Wayne Brothers, you know what I'm saying? These shows are old, but there's certainty. There's certainty in your expectations. You know what you're going to get from these old shows, unlike the new content where, in all honesty, man, I've checked out. As a heterosexual guy, I don't really watch much stuff. I've seen what they're doing now. I saw Saved by the Bell. They're now they casted the lead female character, I think, is a transsexual or whatever. You know what I'm saying? They've done a lot of subversion. They cast a lot of characters. They're trying to force, they're basically, what they're doing in Hollywood is they're trying to make, basically make a false narrative that wherever you go, just like there's a majority and a lot of straight people, there's going to be a lot of gay people. When in reality, that's a complete lie. You know, the gay community is less than, what is it, less than 2% of the population. You know what I'm saying? So what Hollywood's doing is, well, you know, if we just keep projecting that this is normal, that just as many gay people as straight people, you know what I'm saying, which really is a lie. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of heterosexual men are basically, I'd say you're stepping away because you got old content. Because what's happened now, and there's a movie, I go watch this movie every few years. I watch the whole fucking collection, the whole spaghetti westerns from, you know, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, just for a couple of dollars. Yo, Jesse Wales. You know what I'm saying? I watch all these old Western movies, and I'm telling you, if you watch these Western movies, it is the definition of being a straight man, being heterosexual. You know what I'm saying? Watch for a few dollars, for a few more, the Good, the Bad, and Ugly. Watch that whole trilogy, and you'll see Clint Eastwood play the definition of a man. You know, this movie is not sobbing over love. You know, a woman, you know, even a movie Jesse Wales where he lost his family. He's not going to war and shooting people because he loved his wife and children. No, he's going there because he lost his wife and children. They were his. They were his. So he's going out on a shootout, killing people because he lost what was rightfully his family. You know, a lot of men don't understand that the emasculation of men started, I think it was the 1940s or 50s, when some propaganda guy started selling romance, trying to romanticize and feminize men. That, oh, it's about our feelings and love and soulmates and all that crap. You know what I'm saying? If you want to watch a true movie, man, a movie about manhood, bro, a movie about being a heterosexual male, you watch The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. You watch Once Upon a Time in Mexico. No, not that one. I think it was Once Upon a Time. I forget. We had Once Upon a Time in the West. You watch The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. You watch For a Few More Dollars. Dude, that whole collection of movies is pure manhood, because these movies were made before the propaganda arrived of trying to feminize men and make them about romance and all that BS. Because what Hollywood doesn't get, what's going on is that a lot of heterosexual men are checking out. You know, you're not watching anything. I'll be real with you, man. After Endgame, Marvel, to me, it died. What they did to the Hulk was unforgivable. You know, feminizing the Hulk. The Hulk, you're telling me, and you know, if you watch Thor Ragnarok, you know, and the thing is, that whole Endgame, they did a full reset. They deleted, because to me, I would say this: if you're going to watch how Marvel destroyed itself, what you do is watch Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok, you saw the Hulk, he was whooping ass, he was sleeping with Valkyrie. It was highly emphasized that, yeah, the Hulk slept with Valkyrie, like he had sex with her. You know what I'm saying? And then and watch Thor Ragnarok from the Hulk's perspective and Thor. You'll see that Hulk was having sex with a Valkyrie. Thor finally got his confidence back, and you know what I'm saying, and all that stuff. Then you watch Endgame. You watch Endgame, where all of a sudden Thor is fat, overweight. You know what I'm saying? Thor's overweight. The character development was scrapped. Hulk was basically, if you watch it, you're telling me the Hulk was on Earth for 5 years. You know, it's been 5 years since Thanos snapped half of the population away. You're telling me the Hulk's been here for 5 years and he never had sex with White Widow. He never had sex with White Widow. There was no love triangle between him, White Widow, and Valkyrie. Because, you know, in the movie, they turn Valkyrie to a lesbian and they give her the title of king, which is just stupid and disrespectful. You know, she would be a queen, whatever. And even that, she wouldn't be a queen because it takes a king. For a woman to be a queen, she has to have a king or whatever. But they basically made her a king. That whole BS of anything a man can do, a woman can do, which is BS. You know what I'm saying? All women's rights come from men. You know what I'm saying? Look at Roe v. Wade. Look at Roe v. Wade. Roe v. Wade proves to you that this whole bullshit narrative of men and women are equal, it shows you. Because here's the thing about Roe v. Wade. If it was something done on men, like, you know, if they had a law, if they put a law in place that, yeah, you know, all men must lose one of their balls. If they made a law where, yeah, all men, you're only allowed to have one nut, you know, one balls, there would be war, man. Men would go, you know what I'm saying? You would see the society burn, you know. But Roe v. Wade, you just see some women marching, and you could clearly see that some women have been paid to march. You're telling me a woman has the time to march for 24 hours, no job, nothing, get out of here. So a lot of them been paid by the political party. But what Hollywood doesn't get, and what's happening is a lot of people, like back in the 2000s, you know, 2000s, one saying was, yo, you know, somebody from the 70s will be, yo, man, back in my time, we had better television, brother. We had Smash, we had the Jeffersons, we had the Cosbys, brother. We had all these better shows, my brother. And, you know, in the 2000s and 90s, you were like, man, you just an old head. You just old. You just want us to watch your stuff. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you're better than us. But now the Zoomers and Alpha or Millennials are like, shit, them older generations were right, man. They had better shows. You know, they had better shows than we had today. You know, a lot of people are realizing, shit, man, shows are far more sugar-coated, far more censored than they were in the 60s, 40s, 50s. That's one thing I'm going to try to do. Like, you know, I'm going to watch a lot more legacy entertainment, older films from the 40s, 50s, and stuff like that. I'm going to expand my horizon when it comes to potential entertainment from the past. Because what's happened, what Hollywood doesn't get is when you released all these streaming services where people could binge watch all the old shows. I mean, all of them. You could binge watch them. You don't have to watch the new shit. I mean, think about it. Friends, the show Friends has over 1,000 hours, probably over 4,000 or 5,000 hours worth of content. You know what I'm saying? Martin, over 5,000 hours worth of content. Like, you could rewatch all the old shows and never watch anything new. What Hollywood doesn't get is your new shows are competing with your old shows. This is why this is why a lot of people left Netflix when you know, Seinfeld was removed, when the older shows, Frasier, you know what I'm saying, Martin, you know what I'm saying, the Jeffersons, when older shows are removed, people leave because they're like, dude, I knew what I was getting with the older shows. Things were certain, you know, you could watch them old things and know there was certainty. Now, the new stuff coming out, you don't know what the fuck you're gonna get. You don't know what the hell you're gonna get watching it. So a lot of people are becoming disinvested in newer content. So the newer, you know, back in the 90s, new content, they didn't have to compete with old content. You know, a new TV show arrived, you know, they were playing some reruns of Friends and the older shows. They were playing reruns, but they weren't basically as available as the new shows. Now, what Hollywood has created is that your new shows are garbage. Compared to the older shows, what is it? Andromeda. You know what I mean? You got Andromeda, the original Star Trek. You got, you know, older shows. So the new shows are competing with the older shows, and the older shows are garbage. The new Bond movie is competing with the old Bond movie because you have as much access, and I need to rewatch the older Bonds with Sean Connery. The name's James Bond. I like my martini shaken, not stirred, as I've enjoyed my movies. So, you know, you gotta wait. Yeah, the Highlander. Yes, there can only be one. Duncan MacLeod. You are the Highlander. There can only be one. I will train you, Duncan MacLeod. Oh, man. Sean Connery, man. R.I.P. to the legend, man. Sean Connery was a man amongst men. But you see, the older shows, the new shows are competing with the older shows. And a lot of people are realizing shit. Like, for example, I used to watch Hercules. You know what I'm saying? I'd say when you watch that, what is it, that Amazon crap they put out, Amazon, or even The Witcher with Henry Cavill, you're like, damn, man, The Witcher is woke. You know what I'm saying? Because The Witcher, man, I would see the casting, you know, I'm a quote-unquote Negro or black person. You're like, well, what the hell is all these black people doing in a medieval world where it's fucking cold as hell? This is before airplane tickets and mass traveling, and this is before fucking, refugees and all this crap. Well, what are they doing? It takes you out of the show when you see all these black people in The Witcher, and you're like, dude, this isn't our setting. Yes, there could be one or two black people here and there, rarely, or a lot, depending on if they're trading certain things, whatever. But come on, man. You know, to me, if you don't want to watch the Amazon Lord of the Rings garbage, you go watch Hercules, man. You know, Hercules. When Hera unleashed the wrath, there was a son, Hercules, Kevin Sorbo, in Hercules. Man, I need to rewatch Hercules. You know, there's Hercules. There's a lot of stuff from the 90s, bro. There's a lot of content you couldn't watch back then at your leisure. So what Hollywood's doing, man, a lot of heterosexual people are leaving. Now, what is the future? What is the future? I've come to realize that we're having a massive change. And what we're having is a movement of non-industry people taking over. A lot of non-industrial people are taking over. What I mean by non-industry is that you go on YouTube, there's a movement, non-industry people making short films, movies, books, novels. I personally think we're at the point with entertainment that we're going to have a non-industry movement, you know. And, you know, you got independent people, you know, you got indie, because I think we're going to have this. Because in the comics section, you need to look up a comic book called I Some One by Eric July. He's indie only. What I mean by indie only, independent only, is that there's no attachment to the industry before he created what he's creating. And, you know, you have indie industry. Indie industry is guys that were formerly in the industry and they make something. Like, let's say, for example, a guy that used to develop movies for Hollywood started his own independent studio. You know what I'm saying? So that would be indie industry. So he's independent, but he's of the industry. What's going to happen is we're having a major shift in entertainment. Technology's gotten more affordable than ever before. 3D, you know, you could look up, you know, Unreal, Unity. Technology's gotten far more affordable than ever before. So what you're having a major movement of people pushing indie only. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to see a lot of heterosexual men step up to the plate and say, yo, man, I want to make movies. You know, as crazy as it sounds, you're going to see a movement of, yeah, I want to make movies for straight people. You know what I'm saying? Because what Hollywood has done and the major forces that be is that they've criminalized and demonized making heterosexual content. Like, it's only okay for a gay person to announce, this is a gay movie. Like, if you see the ad for Bros where they're intentionally antagonizing and attacking straight people, saying the straight people have had their time. They had their moment in the sun. Because what Hollywood in the mainstream media, which is dying anyway. I did a video. If you want to watch it, watch a video I made called YouTube Kills Nostalgia. You know, where I explain how the mainstream media is dying anyway. Because what's happening is they've given the license to be to have discrimination, the license to be racist. Like you look at The Rock's movie, Black Adam. They basically were so racist on their reviews of Black Adam because the movie didn't cater to non-heterosexual people on its advertisement. It wasn't woke. So what they've done is they've given the license to be racist, the license to be to have discrimination, to be to bully, to be negative, to basically woke people, and the so-called gay community, which really they're not the real gay community, man. Anybody that's gay making a movie saying Hollywood is representing us, that's not a real gay person. Gay people know they've had their own films, production, studios. They have their own clubs. They've had these for over 40 years. You know what I'm saying? Their own gay bars, studios, film, production. So why would a gay person be celebrating that Hollywood, a heterosexual, industry, so-called, trying to say this is the first gay movie? No, it ain't. They've been gay movies. Gay people have their own channels. I mean, gay people, the LGBTQ community, they've been ahead of a lot of other groups of people. I think the gay community was one of the first to have their own, their own TV networks, their own bars, and that's the thing about racism. It's even pushed racism. Like the blacks don't have their own bars. Like the only people allowed to, they've been segregating themselves is the gay people, which they've been doing that to protect themselves. You'll have a gay bar as a place where, if you're gay, you go there. The gay people gonna go there to be gay and have gay fun, whatever the hell it is, whatever. Unlike if a gay man was to go to a heterosexual bar where, if they try to, get a conversation with another man, that man might be heterosexual and they might get in a fight and that gay man might walk out with a broken jaw, So gay people been creating their own content, their own bars, their own neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? Because here's the thing, man. A gay person walks, towards, a straight man. You know what I'm saying? Let's say that gay dude is walking. They both dress the same, very heterosexual. You know what I'm saying? And he comes holler at this straight guy. He might get his jaw rocked. He might get his jaw broken. He might get in a brawl. He might even potentially, become a, venture 6 feet deep, So a lot of gay people created their own bars and their own clubs so they can identify their own. Hollywood's been pushing this false narrative. This is the first lead gay actor. This is the first lead gay film. Oh man, this shit's been out. It's been out, bro. It's been out since the 40s and all that shit. You don't even gotta watch it to know this shit already happens. This ain't new. Because Hollywood's trying to say they're entitled. And another thing that's happening besides a lot of heterosexual, because you're going to see a major movement. It's already happening where heterosexual men are coming out saying, we're making our own films. These are for heterosexual men. This isn't for non-heterosexual men, because Hollywood is basically ostracized and demonized the straight male narrative. You know what I mean? Content catering towards straight men. Hollywood is basically, demonized it. Oh shit. Let me close. Yeah, so they've demonized it. So a lot of what you're gonna see happen is, a lot of straight men will start creating their own film studios. It's already happening all over YouTube. You see non-woke content creators, and what you're gonna see is they're indie only. And what I mean by indie only is that they're trying to succeed and get their budget from the public. They're not looking to get money from studios or join the establishment, because you don't have to. We're in the age of, dude, you don't need a theater. You could upload a whole movie on YouTube. You could upload a whole movie on Amazon, your own website. You don't need the industry anymore. You know, we have the infrastructure with the internet. You don't need them anymore. You know, Hollywood can't basically gatekeep access from the public to watch your thing anymore. They can't. You have your own website. There's so many things you can do today without Hollywood's approval. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people, we're heading towards that age, you know, because the thing is, heterosexual people, we got more than enough content. We got over 100 years of content. We got enough content where we won't even live to watch it. I mean, try to watch the entire Law and Order. I forget the Law and Order where they had the dude who played the Kingpin. I forget that Law and Order. That was my man. But there's so many TV shows, man. You know, films from our perspective that, dude, we're not running out of content. And what Hollywood's doing is, and they've destroyed their credibility, is that Hollywood is pushing this notion that they're entitled to heterosexual men's money. They're entitled to our money. That's why you get all this straight male bashing. We're like, oh man, you know, they'll say, we don't need straight men. This movie wasn't made for you straight men. And then when they don't make money, they're like, why didn't you straight men give us your hard-earned money? We're entitled to your hard-earned money. Because that's what's happened to Hollywood now, is that all these entertainment providers think they're entitled to your hard-earned money you've worked for. You know what I'm saying? So the thing you got to understand is that, man, a lot of changes are happening and they're around the corner. I really think what's going to happen is we're going to have full transparency. Full transparency is coming, where they tell you the ratings of the movie. Okay, age 13, PG-13, rated R, and you're going to have you know, the sexuality featured, because you can't trust Hollywood anymore. Its trust is gone. You see a movie like Eternals advertised. And Eternals is the example, bro. That movie's casting is the example of just how crazy shit has gone. So you're telling me you got a lot of eternal, immortal people, and they're gonna be casted as old women and out of shape men, you know, out of shape men. You know, when they cast a straight male character, he's feminized, but he looks the part. Dude, man, it's done. The way I look at Hollywood is, they can't be trusted anymore. You know, the trust is gone, because you've had over 5-6 years. The whole 2010s was all about, you know what I'm saying, demonizing men. You know, you had Ghostbusters 2016. You had Charlie's Angels. You had Birds of Prey. You had all these movies, man, where they demonize the straight man. And you have a lot of, you know, straight bait movie where they advertise it as straight movie, then you go in and it's horrible. I mean, like I said, the perfect example is what they did to the Hulk. What they did in Marvel, man, it was insane. The Hulk is the representation of absolute masculinity. Pure masculinity, man, you know, just on a savage level of masculinity, you know what I'm saying? His whole brute strength and all that. Then you watch Endgame. They feminize the Hulk, because, you know, he becomes Dr. Hulk, but Dr. Hulk is supposed to be the best combination. He's as smart as Bruce Banner, but he's as masculine as the Hulk. He's still masculine. He's not soft and weak. He's still walking around bulked up, muscled up. And then you see what they did to him in a movie. 5 years he didn't sleep with the Black Widow. He's become feminized, womanized. He has to be saved. And guess what? You watched Endgame. He was saved by Ant-Man, a very effeminized, you know, weak-looking man. Saves him and literally repeats what he did in the first Avengers movie. You know what I'm saying? Because they had to feminize the Hulk. Then you watch Endgame. You know, Black Widow has to die. You know, Black Widow dies for the Hawkeye. And this is how badly written Endgame was. Hawkeye was going around killing people, innocent people. He would be the one to sacrifice himself out of guilt and not feeling something. So they feminize even Hawkeye by saying a man should not be accountable or responsible. Then they killed the Black Widow because she was the most feminine character in the film. In the whole, if if you look at the whole Marvel series, Black Widow is one of the most feminine. You know, she would walk around looking sexy, attractive. She would calm down the Hulk with her sexuality or sex appeal, being feminine, soft to him. They killed her, and then you got nothing but these wannabe men, masculine female characters left. You know what I'm saying? Valkyrie, I'm the king of Asgard now. You're looking at, this is bullshit. You know, and then you saw what they did to Thor. They feminized the Thor. All of a sudden, Thor, who saved his father, got his confidence back. He's overweight. He's crying. He's whining. He's soft. He's cowardly. Dude, they killed the representation of masculinity and femininity in those movies. And like I said, Hollywood, a lot of people are moving away from it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are moving away from Hollywood, and Hollywood is basically, Hollywood has basically created its own destruction, because we got over 500 years worth of content to watch. You know what I'm saying? Jean-Claude Van Damme, Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know what I'm saying? We could watch it all. I plan to do another video from this based on lead actors, acting roles, because that's another thing you got to look at. We went from Jean-Claude Van Damme, Rocky Balboa, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to bring up Will Smith because we've seen what he's become, but we went from Paul Weathers, Paul Weathers, who played, I think that was his name, who played Creed, who played Creed. Went from all these Johnny the Body Ventura. We went from all these masculine, Clint Eastwood. We went from all these, Danny Glover. We went from all these, masculine or, overtly heterosexual lead actors to, we got Robert Pattinson. You know what I'm saying? The big example you got to look up is Harry Styles from One Direction. The guy who wears a dress. He's the example of masculinity now. You know what I'm saying? So Hollywood, to me, man, it's burning. And a big movement is happening. That movement is, indie only. You know what I'm saying? Non-industry indie. And it's coming where, no one's looking, like a lot of studios, you don't need a studio anymore. No one's looking to, oh man, I got to make my movie. So Hollywood could pick it up. No one cares. People are just looking for funding so they could put their movie out on their website, Amazon or wherever. Some of these what they call it, these streaming services, Eventually these streaming services will start doing a submission program where they will allow, indie only, non-industry content creators to basically submit their films, and they'll create a whole role. And the big role that's coming is called content creators. The biggest movement that's coming is content creation. I mean, look at me. I got a channel with over 400 videos. I'm closing in on 500. And I'm a content creator where I talk about life, philosophy, manhood, and all that stuff. And I'm not Dr. Phil. I don't have a contract or none of that. I'm just making the content and putting it up out there. So we're in the age of content creation, and Hollywood is on its way out. I mean, it's only gonna get worse. The technology's getting better. The people are tired of all the gatekeeping and all this crap. Hollywood is basically burning down. I mean, it's already dead anyway. I mean, I made that video, YouTubers Destroy Nostalgia. And the reason I titled it is that, dude, the majority of people growing up in this generation, they're watching YouTubers. They're watching content creators. They're not watching reruns of old TV shows and old cartoons. They're watching content creators. When a YouTuber has over, you gotta do the math. Like, I average, when I live stream, depending on what's going on, I'm averaging probably, 10 to about 20 people watching me on a live stream. That's 10 to 20 people not watching a TV show, not watching films or anything. And then some other channels get hundreds of thousands of people watching them live stream. That's a lot of people not watching television. We're in the age of content creators. You know what I'm saying? And the content creators are going to basically multiply in every facet of entertainment. And you know what I'm saying? Like, you go on YouTube and watch fan-made films for Dragon Ball Z, and some are way better than any film that was ever made. I remember watching that trailer for Future Trunks, the movie. That shit looked fire. You know what I'm saying? So, and the technology's catching up, man. So what's happening is we're in the age of content creation, and a lot of people aren't growing up with nostalgia. I mean, the Zoomers, I'll use the Zoomers as an example. The Zoomers are watching YouTubers. They're not stuck. The Zoomers are growing up on Netflix, being able to choose YouTube. They grew up on YouTube. Like, I want you to do a little test. Look up, I would say scroll through about 20 YouTube channels. Scroll through 20 YouTubers and look at their clothing. Look at, majority of YouTubers are selling their own clothes. You know what I'm saying? Or they're not even representing old stuff. There's no, you won't see a lot of Marvel, DC shirts or, mainstream Hollywood-based content on them because A, they could get sued. You can't, you rock a certain shirt, you could get a cease and desist letter. Hollywood elites think, oh, this is us, exercising our power, but in reality, you're damaging yourself to the younger generations. Like, for example, if I'm making a video, if I put on a shirt based on a Hollywood film or something, there's a chance I might get a cease and desist strike if they don't agree with what I'm talking about. Because, God forbid I'm an individual. I'm speaking for my own. So that's what's happening. So a lot of stuff, bro, man, is gone. And what's Hollywood is burning down. Hollywood is done, man. The Hollywood is facing, like, for example, they released a new Predator movie with some Native American chick. They had to put, what they call that shit, fucking feminism in the Native Americans. Somehow a woman's gonna be the greatest hunter, at a time where, and this is what's funny about Hollywood is, like I said, they dehumanize women. They dehumanize them. You watch all these Hollywood films, so you're telling me that chick is gonna be stronger. It's illegal for women to be afraid to recognize they're women. They're not as strong as the men. It's illegal for the women to basically go through their periods and, go through all these issues they're facing. You know what I'm saying? As women, like when they write female characters, those aren't women, man. Those are fake. Those are women playing the role of a man. They don't have periods. They don't have bursts of emotion due to their hormones going crazy. They don't have any regret being in their 30s and not having children. Dude, a lot of these female characters are just written as men. You know what I mean? So a lot of things are happening. We're in the age of content creation. You know what I'm saying? Indie content creation without any connection. We're basically heading towards the non-industry connection of creation. Because what's happening is it's driven with all this BS from the mainstream content. It's forcing a lot of independent people to create their own content. People that have no industry experience at all. Non-industry. Yeah, basically that's where we're heading. We're in the non-industry creation period. A lot of them are rising up. Guys like me. You got MD, shout out to Smash TV, MGTOW TV, where he wrote 3 books. The 48 Laws of Dating. He wrote the Black Pill book, and he wrote his newest book. The newest book he wrote, which is Nightmare on Sperm Street. If you talk to MD's never worked for the industry, as in he was a novel writer or he co-wrote anything. No, he woke up and said, fuck it, I'm gonna write and create, and this is what's happening. We're in the age of non-industry creators. That's what's happening. Non-industry. You know what I mean? Because the solution, you gotta solve it now. The industry has too much corruption. So, let it burn. You know what I'm saying? They're destroying themselves. I mean, I'm going to ask you a big question. How you can tell Hollywood is basically dead is that try to name Try to name 10 leading actors. Try to name 10 leading actors and try to name 10 leading actors and 10 leading actresses, and they can't be from the 90s. They can't be from the 90s. You know what I'm saying? Try to name them. I can name, Chris Pratt. Okay, so Chris Pratt. Yeah, I guess I could name Idris Elba. Idris Elba. Who else? Yeah, Matt Hardy. You got Matt Hardy from Venom. Now let me try to name them from the 90s. Let's go to the 90s. Jean-Claude Van Damme. Bam. You got Jean-Claude, Arnold Schwarzenegger. You got Stallone. You got Will Smith. You got Martin. You got you know what I'm saying? You got Carl Weathers. You got you got Steven Seagal, whether you like him or not. You got Nicolas Cage. You got John Travolta. You got fucking, what's his name? He played on Die Hard. I always forget his name for some reason. You got Harrison Ford. You got Clint. You see, dude, Clint Eastwood. You look at how quickly I'm naming them. Now, name them from the 2000s till now. That's a sign Hollywood's dead, bro. You can't even name today's lead actors. I guess you could name Chris Hemsworth. You know what I'm saying? He's new. Chris Hemsworth, somewhat. And, I could name, I know Jason Momoa. Henry Cavill. I know Henry Cavill. Yeah, it's bad. Hollywood is dead. But, it's been Hold the Truth Hostage with Pop the Culture. This was a request, and thank you. Peace.